My name is Diane. I'm an alcoholic. I've been through this process with two big book step study sponsors, a loving God, a lot of meetings like this. I am in the process of making amends and do practice 10, 11, 12 on a daily basis. I appreciate Jim asking me to speak. I don't like to speak in front of a very large group, which this is, but you know, God puts me where I'm supposed to be, so I try to do what I'm supposed to do. So here I am. When I first came into Big Book and I read this chapter, I was blown away because I'd been in AA for a while before I came to Big Book, and I'd never read any of it. So when I read this, I was amazed at when I was reading about the phenomenon of craving, because I'd never heard that expression before. And I immediately identified with that. I immediately identified with this entire chapter and finally knew why I couldn't drink, just have one or two drinks. I don't remember even really trying to have one or two drinks, maybe some, you know, now and then, but I couldn't. I can remember my friend Joe, God love him, we were drinking buddies, and he would say, just come out for one, Diane. And I'd be like, all right. Well, you know, 3 hours later, we'd be sitting at the bar completely trashed and never could do it, never, ever. And now I finally knew why. I always thought, oh, it runs in my family, which it does. I mean, a lot of my family has a phenomenon of craving. And maybe it's a disease, I don't know, but for me, it was definitely a phenomenon of craving. And I was relieved to find that out when I first came into Big Book. So this whole chapter is, you know, written about me and, you know, the sensitivity, the allergy to alcohol. I remember when I was I wasn't even sober yet, and I was cleaning houses for Merry Maids. And the woman I was with at the time was very cranky, and I was petrified of her. And we were in the car one day, and we would talk. Of course, I was probably talking about drinking because I was still drinking. And she said, "Well, I don't drink anymore. I'm allergic to it." And I was like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "How can you be allergic?" Well, okay, you're allergic to it. You drink it, you probably break out in hives, whatever. Now, when I read this, I'm like, she was probably talking about she's allergic to it because of this, but I didn't know it at the time. So I just thought, all right, that's too bad for you, but I'm not allergic to it, and I still drink. But anyway. So that I always think of that when I hear allergy, and I had to look it up, like I was instructed to do when I first started the process, and I found that it was a hypersensitivity to a specific substance. That's an understatement for me, hypersensitivity, because when I put alcohol in my system, all bets were off. I would do anything because I was very shy. I was a very shy person, and I found that when I put alcohol in me, I could talk to anybody. I would do things that I wouldn't normally do, crazy things, and which I wouldn't do if I wasn't drinking. I mean, it's pretty simple. So I have the allergy, and so when I came into Big Book and read this, I was amazed. So when I was out there drinking, I identify with all of this. Now I'm losing my train of thought. 1 second. This paragraph where it says the sensation is so elusive that while they admit it injurious, that was me. There were times where I would think, I really should not drink a lot, you know, and I know, and then if I would drink, I would smoke a pack of cigarettes, and then, you know, then I would do coke, and then, you know, it would go on and on from there. Kind of thinking maybe that it's not good for me, but then, you know, like this says, after time, I couldn't differentiate the true from the false, and honestly, I didn't even care. I just wanted to get wasted and high, and I was always restless, mostly irritable. And discontented, always pissed off at everything and everybody, especially at work. Oh, you know, now I have to punch a time clock. I can remember that I was on salary, and then they made us punch a clock. I was like, I'm 30 years old. I'm not going to punch a clock. I mean, really? So, I mean, this is my thinking. This is the way I was mad at everybody. So, you know, my drinking career went on, and the phenomenon of craving stayed there, and I didn't think about stopping very often, and hardly ever, because no one ever told me that I drank too much except for my mother, who, she's the only one that ever said that I drank too much. And of course I was mad at her for that, and she was right, she was right. So my drinking career went on, and this is how I found AA, I would tell you. I was at a New Year's Eve party, and I had bought a half a gram of cocaine just for myself, because at this point I was, you know, it was all about me. I'm not sharing, I would buy a case of beer just for me, and that's where it was taking me. And I did share it with one person, my best friend. But anyway, I was at a party, and this woman at midnight threw confetti in my face. I thought it was funny, you know, whatever. Long story short, I started dating her, and she was in AA. And I didn't know that at the time, and we were having dinner, and I ordered a beer, and I said, "Oh, aren't you going to have something to drink?" She goes, "Oh, I don't drink." And I was like, what the hell am I doing with her? This is nuts. I said, okay. So I figured, as long as she doesn't bother me about my drinking, all right, whatever, don't drink. I don't know what you do. But honestly, I didn't know what people did unless you drank and drunk. I mean, what fun do you have? You must be boring. And of course, all her friends were in AA, so I'm like, this is going to be a lot of fun, I can just tell. But anyway, so I started going to meetings with her because she had the problem. And that's where I started hearing my story being told by other people. And I'm like, oh, I just did that not too long ago. So AA got me without me even knowing it. So what happened was, I went to a meeting one day. It was a big meeting like this, and they went around the room and said, "I'm Susie, I'm an alcoholic. I'm Jane, I'm an alcoholic." I'm like, what am I going to do now? The sweat was pouring off me. So it came to me, and I said, "I'm Diane, I'm an alcoholic." No one did anything. No one said, "Oh," gasped or anything. And so I'm like, because it was all about me. So I'm like, oh, all right, okay, this is all right. But now, then I was like, now I have to do something about it, because I just said it in front of a room of 100 people. So that's how my journey began. And so it went on, and I was okay. I was okay. I was not drinking, I was going to meetings, and that was it. I was petrified of meetings, petrified of people. And, but the only thing I had going for me was I had a higher power at that point already, because it was suggested to me that I get on my knees and just get on your knees. Just get on your knees and see what happens. This is before I stopped drinking. And then I decided not to drink at a party. And that's how it happened. So that, after the phenomenon of craving and, the physical piece that I learned in here, and then I found a power greater than myself, had no idea what it was, not to restore me to sanity. I was not even close to that. Just finding something more powerful than me that could keep me from a drink. And that's eventually what this says. And that's how I found my higher power, which I had no idea what that was. And that went on from there. And then I found Big Book. And then that was many years later. And I found Big Book not on purpose. I believe it was my higher power that led me here. I was looking for another way to connect with my higher power, because I felt like I wasn't connected. I prayed every day, I did all that, but I wasn't working the steps. I dabbled in the steps a little bit and didn't really do anything with them. And I decided to ask somebody to be my sponsor, because that's a good idea to have a sponsor. And so I asked this woman, and she said, yeah, but I'm in Big Book, and that's the only way I know how to do the steps. I'm like, fine, I don't care, I just want to do the steps. I had no idea what this was all about. I know, you laugh. So I started the process, and that's how I found Big Book. And that's my experience with the doctor's opinion, and my experience with Big Book. I won't go into it because it's not pertinent to this step, but it's been an amazing experience, and I still look for that connection with my higher power, because I'm not always connected. My mind takes over, and that's it. But now I have more tools than I did before to connect with that higher power and then work through the rest of the steps, which I have, and still continue to do. And, you know, it's a lifelong process for me. It's not over just because I went through this and did all the writing and all that stuff. And no, it's not even close. It will never be over. And that's fine with me because I like to remain teachable, as I heard somebody say in a meeting once, and I liked that. Because if I don't remain teachable, I think I know everything, and then, you know, we know what happens. So that's my experience with this, and I appreciate him asking me to speak and you having me here. Thank you.